If you've clicked on this video, you probably already know that house hacking flips the script on home ownership. Instead of making you house broke, house hacking actually lowers your cost of living. Instead of chaining you to a picket fence, house hacking actually gives you more flexibility in where and how you live your life. And instead of setting you on a cookie-cutter track to the suburbs, house hacking actually leads to more options, more opportunities when you're ready to move on. But the sad fact is that many people who know all of this, many people like yourself perhaps, are still hesitant to house hack. They know how smart, how financially advantageous it is, but there's a fear. And 9 times out of 10, at least in my experience as a house hacking agent in Los Angeles, California, what potential house hackers fear is tenants. The big concern about house hacking is dealing with bad tenants. Look, if I told you that you could lower your cost of living while building tremendous equity by house hacking a duplex, and you live in one unit and your best friends or your siblings lived in the other unit, would you go for it? Of course you would. That's the dream, house hacking a multifamily property and having totally awesome tenants as neighbors. And I know because I've had that experience. Let me show you. It's Halloween 2020. My 3-year-old daughter is so excited to go trick-or-treating for her first time ever. But LA is still on a total lockdown from the pandemic. But because I had such great tenants in the duplex I was house hacking, we were able to make one stop that night, a very special trick-or-treating visit to my tenant's door. And my 3-year-old got to do Halloween during the lockdown. In this video, I'm showing you exactly how I house hacked with amazing tenants. I'm going to take you through the steps I took to make sure my tenants were awesome. Because I had the exact same worry that every would-be house hacker has, that shitty tenants will turn a unique, exciting experience into a big, crappy headache. By following the steps I'm about to share, you can rest assured that your tenants in your house hack will be amazing too. I'm Jon Schwartz, a house hacker, real estate investor, and realtor in Los Angeles. I make videos about house hacking and housing market analysis. So if you like that kind of stuff, subscribe. This video addresses multifamily house hacking, which is when you buy a duplex, triplex, or fourplex to live in one unit and rent the others. But at the end of the video, I'll connect everything we cover to single family house hacking, which is when you buy a house or a condo with extra bedrooms to rent to roommates. There are 3 steps to ensuring that you have amazing tenants in your house hack. None of them are especially difficult, but it's crucial that you take the time to actually execute all 3. And just to say it up front, steps 1 and 2 are somewhat standard, while step 3 is my original contribution to the world of house hacking. Step 3 is what makes all the difference, so please don't tune out before step 3. All right, let's get into it. Step 1 to landing amazing tenants for your house hack is understanding exactly how much money you should ask for your units. Why is this so important? Well, the higher a rental rate you ask for, the fewer applicants you're going to get. Conversely, if you price your units too low, you're not taking full advantage of your investment. So understanding what each unit is worth in terms of monthly rental income is key. So key that it's the first thing I do, the very first thing when assessing properties for my clients. And the way you know what your asking rent should be is by looking at comps. That is, comparable units in the same geographical area as the building you're considering. There's a slow way to do this and a fast way. Unlike clicking the like button, which is always fast and much appreciated because it makes this video more accessible to anybody looking for it. So please take a second to click on that thumbs up under the video. All right, back to finding comps. The slow way is by going to Zillow and Apartments.com, typing in the address of the property you're considering, and looking for units nearby that have the same bedroom and bathroom count. Tally everything you find in a spreadsheet and average out the rents. Further along in the buying process, this is what I do for my clients. Before closing on a property, you want to take the time to actually look at everything that's available nearby and really dial in exactly what your units are worth. But at the start of the process, when you're first reviewing and considering properties, you don't want to put so much time into every listing. So the fast way to understand what your units are worth is by using a service like rentometer.com, which does the data scraping and analysis for you. You just enter the address of the property you're considering, enter how many bedrooms and bathrooms the unit has, and click Analyze. Rentometer comes back with the average and median rent for a comparable unit in the area. I pay more attention to the median rent metric. Why? Because the median is the midpoint. Half of comparable units rent for more and half rent for less. So the median is a better starting point than the average, which can be weighted high or low by 1 or 2 outlier listings. Rentometer also gives you the 25th and 75th percentiles of their analysis. This is helpful if you already know that you're buying a lesser or grander building than usual. For example, if your units are really small for their bedroom and bathroom counts, you might want to hedge toward the 25th percentile. But if the building you're considering is newly built with all amenities, you can bank on achieving 75th percentile rents. So check out rentometer.com through the link in the description. They offer a free 1-week trial followed by monthly or annual subscriptions. I recommend buying a monthly subscription just for the few months that you'll be finding your house hack. That link is an affiliate link, but I wouldn't recommend Rentometer if I didn't use it myself constantly. I've been an annual subscriber since 2019. All right, step number 2. And this is another step that has a slow way to do and a fast way, except this time, both ways are free. Step 2 is to thoroughly run the numbers on the property you're considering so that you're 100% positive it's a good investment at the median rent amount we found in step 1. Why is this so important? Well, most house hackers, and most regular home buyers for that matter, are afraid of buying a money pit and going broke. In reality, that's very unlikely to happen. What's more likely to happen, for house hackers at least, is that their property is a little more expensive to own than they thought, so they try to make up for it by bumping up their asking rent by $100, $200, $300. This is a mistake. As I stated during step 1, charging more rent means your pool of applicants will be smaller, and for step 3 to work, which we'll get into shortly, you need a healthy pool of applicants. Skipping step 2 can mean the difference between step 3 working or not. To be absolutely sure that your house hack works at a median rent, you need to analyze the property beyond just subtracting the rental income from the monthly payment and calling it a day. You must also account for the expenses that your units will incur, specifically maintenance on those units and occasional vacancy. A lot of people new to the concept of house hacking have worries like, but what if something breaks? Or, but what if I can't rent my unit? The fact is, everything's going to break eventually, and you'll definitely experience periods without tenants in all your units. So instead of worrying about these unexpected costs, which really aren't unexpected at all, we include them in our analysis. And rather than bore you with the slow way, I'll just jump straight into the fast way, the Duplex Calculator. When I house hacked my duplex in 2019, I built a spreadsheet to figure out the numbers. I refined that spreadsheet while helping my clients buy over $15 million worth of house hacks, and now my spreadsheet is a web app available to all for free at www.duplexcalculator.com. You simply enter some basic property information, including the median rent for each unit. For variables you might not know exactly, like maintenance and vacancy, I've pre-entered solid estimates to get you started. And you can always click on the question mark icons for an explanation of how to improve your estimates with a little Googling. Click Calculate, and the Duplex Calculator tells you how much your house hack will cost while you live in it, how much it cash flows when you move out, how your equity builds and what you can do with it, and how house hacking impacts your overall net worth. These calculations include maintenance, vacancy, and all the costs you should factor into your house hack analysis. And the whole app is free, so check it out at www.duplexcalculator.com. Okay, before we get into step 3, let me cover the basics of advertising your units. I'm sure there's plenty of content covering this topic, but we want a great applicant pool, so it's worth reviewing best practices. Firstly, advertise your units on Zillow and Apartments.com. Avoid Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. Why? Because Zillow and Apartments.com are much more legit, and you want legit applicants. Also, both Zillow and Apartments.com offer credit checks. Your applicants apply through the website, pay the website a credit check fee, and then you get the application and the credit check. Makes the process super easy. Read other apartment listings before writing yours. You'll learn what language to use, and you'll understand what amenities are important in your market. Maybe it's off-street parking, maybe it's air conditioning. You should promote in your units whatever gets promoted a lot in other units, assuming of course that your units actually have those amenities. Take pictures of your unit during the day and with all the lights on. It's okay to take pics with your phone, but definitely take landscape pictures, and pro tip, don't hold your phone in front of your face, hold it down around your solar plexus. This slightly lower POV will make the rooms look larger. When you get an application you like, take 10 minutes to call the current employer and previous landlord. You want to confirm with the employer that your applicant is getting paid what he or she entered on the application. And with the previous landlord, you want to confirm that rent was paid on time, there were no lease violations, and there were no complaints against the tenant. All right, finally, we get to the much heralded step 3. By the time we get here, you've appropriately priced your units, you've advertised them, and now you're getting messages from people who want to see the units. So the direct way to find an awesome tenant is to ask a lot of questions and really get to know each applicant. For example, you might want to ask, do you wake up early or stay up late? Do you like to host friends a lot? Or are you more introverted? Do you listen to music loudly or quietly? The answers to questions like these will lead you to a great tenant, somebody whom you'd love to have as a neighbor. The problem is, asking questions like these isn't just super weird, it's potentially against the law. At the federal level, fair housing law prohibits discrimination based on a wide range of factors. Some are the obvious, race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, etc. But there are also less obvious factors, like what a person does for a living, or the ages of the children in the family. Some states layer statewide fair housing laws on top of the federal laws, and as you would expect, California went fucking crazy with this. In California, we have a thing called arbitrary discrimination, which is when a potential landlord discriminates against an applicant for any reason. Literally any arbitrary reason. And the way to protect yourself against a claim of arbitrary discrimination is by not asking applicants a lot of questions. In fact, in California, it's best to just use what's on the rental application and ask no further questions. So how did I land awesome tenants if I wasn't allowed to ask my applicants any questions? The answer is step 3. Let your applicants self-select. Here's what I mean. Firstly, I did my own showings for my rental unit. It was pretty easy because I literally lived upstairs. Secondly, when I showed the unit, I would look for an opportunity to tell the potential tenant about myself, my family, and how we lived. That would give the potential tenant an idea of what to expect in my building. So, for example, a potential tenant might comment that he liked a light fixture. I'd say, thanks, my wife picked that out. We actually live upstairs with our 2-year-old daughter. That would lead to some conversation about my family, and I'd be sure to interject that my daughter isn't much of a crier, is usually up around 6 a.m., and we put her down and quiet down ourselves around 7 p.m. So what I'm doing here is, instead of asking this potential tenant whether or not he'll be quiet after 7 p.m., I'm telling him that we'll be quiet and hope for a quiet environment after 7 p.m. I'm letting him know what to expect from me and implicitly what we'll expect from him. And gang, this is a pretty extreme case. We lived upstairs in an upstairs-downstairs duplex with a 2-year-old, and we were giving potential tenants a pretty hardcore quiet hour schedule. In your case, unless you're also house hacking the upstairs of a 2-story duplex with a 2-year-old, you're probably aiming for something easier to achieve. Maybe you're just trying to avoid a party animal tenant. Or maybe you're a party animal and want the same in your tenant. Maybe you'd like a tenant who's at a similar point in their career, or loves watching sports, or won't interfere with your 12 hours a day spent streaming on Twitch, I don't know. But by sharing your story with potential applicants, you're letting them know what to expect of you and establishing a clear outline of what's expected of them. With a healthy pool of applicants, you'll have the luxury of letting your applicants self-select. Those that like what they're hearing will want to live next to you. Those that don't, won't. You'll attract the awesome tenants while dissuading the tenants who you wouldn't want to deal with in the first place. And it's worth noting, California is also a pretty extreme case. I'm not a lawyer, but I think you're safe asking conversational questions anywhere outside of California. If you're showing the unit after work, ask the applicant where they're coming from. If it's a Monday or Tuesday, ask how their weekend was and what they did. If it's a Thursday or Friday, ask about the upcoming weekend. If it's the weekend, well, you get the idea. And the outcome? Well, because I priced my unit correctly, I got plenty of interest, about 10 showings in 2 weeks. Some people who came to visit were turned off by what I had to say and didn't apply. And thank goodness, right? We ended up with 3 qualified applicants who loved the idea of living in our duplex. There was a single mother with a 3-year-old son and 2 childless couples, both of whom were self-professed morning people. They loved the idea of reliably quiet evenings. We went with the applicant that had the strongest financials, one of the couples, and the rest is history. Now, if you're house hacking a single family home and looking for roommates, the same principles apply, but you can be much more direct. Again, I'm not a lawyer and this isn't legal advice, but you have significantly more leeway when renting a room in your own home. Ask your potential tenants about the hours they keep. Tell your potential tenants what the house rules are. You can even codify the house rules as an addendum to the lease agreement. And it's okay, in fact better, to list your rooms on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. This is where people go to find rooms for rent, not full apartments. Just make sure that your asking price is fair, or ever so slightly better than fair, so that you get enough applicants. How do you know what the fair asking price for a bedroom in your area is? Look for comps on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. Rentometer.com doesn't have a rent by the room option. And check out my channel for more helpful house hacking videos like this one.